Don't think this is just another self-help podcast. It's not.
Well, what is it?
It's still a hot mess, where we ask the question, is self-help helping?
Every episode, we discuss, debate, and sometimes diss an aspect of the self-improvement movement.
We want to know, is it all too much? Has it gone too far? Is it making us even more neurotic? Is this self-help or self-help?
You make a mess of me.
Okay, Susan, tell me if this is inaccurate, neutral, or accurate for you, okay? I strive for perfection.
That's fairly accurate, I'd say.
I work hard to help others.
Yes, very accurate, very accurate.
I make more significant contributions than the average person.
Well,
are you battling your ego right now?
A little bit. Like I don't want to toot my own horn, fancy.
Toot it.
I'm gonna toot. Okay, I'm tooting.
Okay. I feel my emotions very deeply.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Very accurate.
These are pretty interesting questions. And we've both recently had to do a quite lengthy survey or whatever in regards to this stuff. Do you want to tell our listeners why?
Yeah, I do. I guess we kind of did that assessment a few weeks ago. And listen, Fanson, I want to thank you. I want to start off by thanking you for humoring me with all of this, because I know
like which part?
like pretty much all of it, because I know you might have been a bit skeptical about it, or maybe it's not your favorite thing. But anyway, so yeah, like what was it? Like back in July, I think I heard Brene Brown do a podcast episode with this guy who's some kind of like Enneagram specialist. And so he was going on about this
Enneagram.
Right. And so this guy was going on about these personalities, personality types. And I found it so fascinating. And then after the podcast finished, it dawned on me that I actually knew someone who works
and that
with
you have a personality.
Yes, it dawned on
like,
me
oh
that
yes, I have a personality. Wait a minute.
Oh my God.
I can do something with this.
This is a perfect fit for me. Yeah. So I remembered that I know someone who actually knows this tool very well and works with it. And so I reached out and I asked her if she would work with us and help us to understand our own personalities and help us to understand each other better and do an episode with us. And so, yeah, I had this idea. Of course, I started off by asking you if you were, willing to do this, go through this process with me, and you said yes. And I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome. I'm a real yes kind of gal.
Well, yeah, I was delighted that you were open to it, and then
I'm waiting for you to ask me to do something where I'm like, Susan, absolutely not. Like, what would that be? I wonder. Where I would be like, I can't do it. There's so many things that I'm willing to do.
Like read a self-help book start to finish. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've attempted.
So I know you've been open to opening it. I
think Rachel Holmes was the one that I had to read, and I couldn't even make it through that. But that's another episode.
But you know what? You did. You said yes, and you did it sort of.
Well, anyway. We're in this still a hot mess thing together. So let's get into it today.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are kind of at the end of our process. We've done the sessions with her, and now she has agreed to join us here on Zoom. Virtually, we are together to talk about her work and the Enneagram. So today with us is trainer, facilitator, and coach, Karen Bonner. Welcome to the show, Karen Bonner.
Awesome. Thank you
for
having
Karen.
me. Hi, guys. Nice to see those faces again.
Yep.
Yay.
I think
your favorite hot messes.
You are, for sure.
I think the most important thing to do right now is to have you explain to our listeners what Enneagram actually is.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about who I am, and then I'll flip over into the Enneagram for you, if you don't mind, because that
Sure.
might help you understand the way I look at the Enneagram and why I'm here. So, I worked in the public service. That was my domain of job. And for 33 years, like holy crow, right? A long, long time. And I graduated 5 years ago. I don't believe in retirement. I think it's an old word. And I started my own coaching work, which is how kind of Susan got to know about me. Um, but I will tell you, it wasn't my trajectory in my career. I had a bit of a hot mess situation, and I want that kind of helps maybe set the stage for who I am and why this work's important to me. So I was going to making that career path of the manager, I was going to be the executive, and I was doing really, really well at that. And then in my late 30s, I finally achieved the position of an executive director role. And I got home and told my husband, and basically I was told I couldn't do it if I wanted my marriage to stay together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that is messy.
Because it meant I was going to be on the road 2 weeks a month. And I had a young family. And it also kind of was a bit of a point in our relationship where we were starting to see, like, who are we as a couple and how do we want to make our relationship work? So I made the decision that my family and my relationship was important and we were going to do some work around that. So I turned down my dream job. So that really put me in, I would say, a bit of a spin. People would call it a midlife crisis. I'm calling it a midlife awakening because I had my job was kind of defining me and my personality, and I was really feeling aligned that this was the work I was supposed to do. So now it was gone, and I had to kind of start thinking about that. So that put me on what I call an unlearning journey and a learning journey. And I started to look around, and the world of coaching came into my life. And I met a couple of really interesting people who were deep into the coaching world. And that's where I took my journey of learning. And I went back to school in my 40s. And that's where I got introduced to the Enneagram. The Enneagram is one of our tools that we use when we work with our clients. I'm a certified coach. And I decided early on that I was going to make that tool visible to my clients. It wasn't going to be held closely to my chest.
I really need to hear exactly what that tool is. What is Enneagram?
Okay. So the Enneagram is a personality. There are a whole slew of personality tests you can do. This is an Enneagram personality tool. It's a test. And it basically talks about we have 9 basic personality types.
In the world.
In the world. 9. There are 9.
There are 10.
There are not 10. There's no 10s.
There are 9.
There are 9. And so this model says, okay, there's 9 kind of what we call primary types. So these are the kind of the basic personalities that we will come and meet in our worlds. They don't look the same, and even the same person will be very different. An Enneagram 3 or an Enneagram 1. I'm an Enneagram 7.
Okay, so just for clarity, so everyone has a dominant personality trait of these 9.
Yep.
Not all of them look the same. Is that what you said?
That's right.
So if you're a number 3, then not all 3s appear the same or look the same, but they're going to have a lot of the same personality characteristics?
Yes. So if I put a bunch of Enneagram 3s together and I started talking about the Enneagram type, because I never talk about you're the type.
Would they be able to screw in a light bulb?
They would go, yep, bang, bang. And within 5 minutes, they're all snapping their fingers at each other going, yep, me too, me too, me too, me too. So there's just some foundational blocks that are really, really like light up people. It makes sense to them. And that's why I share that, because if we don't know kind of the basic stuff, it's kind of invisible to us. So when we make it visible and that person decides, yeah, that makes sense to me. And that's why I use the Enneagram tool. For me is the most sought out, practical tool that people say that really resonates with me.
Okay, so explain how an Enneagram works. Because right now we understand there are 9 personality types, and we understand that everyone has a dominant type.
Right.
But how exactly do we come to that?
Okay. So there is a test you can do, and you would be self-assessing yourself. So that's the beauty about this tool is you decide through a series of questions which one you land on.
Okay, so for example, I read 4 of them off the top of the episode. There are how many questions in total in the test?
But depending what tests you go on, there are a ton. And that's the other reason why I love the Enneagram. The content is free. So you can go online, type in the Enneagram, and there are a ton of free tests. They can range from, usually a good test has, 100, about 120 questions.
Okay, so in and around
Yep.
120 questions later,
Yep.
I'm going to be able to look at my score and go, my dominant trait is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9.
Right.
And so that means I will be able to look at the description of that specific type and go, does that fit me? Yes, it does. Now I know something more about myself and I can dive deeper and figure out how I tick.
Yeah. How you tick. Use what you've got to its maximum. We're often underutilizing what was available to us. The more we know about ourselves, the more access we have to ourselves. The more we know about ourselves, the more we can say, you know what, that trait, it's getting in my way. I want to change that. So it gives you knowledge. So that's what I want to say. It gives you access to you, because we can't, the bottom line, we can't change what we can't see. So it gives us
yeah.
totally awareness.
So
That's the platform.
So there are, in the description of your number personality type, there are, like, would you call them pros and cons, good and bad, or just things that are, like, how do you work with the descriptions?
I have them right in front of me. I read them to the person once we come, and I ask them. It's really a combination of how does that work out in your life. I may say there are always what I call areas that trip us up. So I'm an Enneagram 7. I have a lot of, I live in the world of possibilities. I'm a fast moving person. That can sometimes get me tripped up, that I don't often stop long enough to say, is this the right next move?
Okay,
So it's good and right.
Yes,
It has
so,
opening up and closing down.
and it's how they work with each individual.
Right.
That's what differs.
Okay, so I would say our listeners are probably at the edges of their seats right now, wanting desperately to hear what the types are. I know,
Yeah.
I mean, there are 9, and so, for time's sake, I know we're not going to do a deep dive.
No.
But would you, Karen, would you just
Yeah.
briefly take us through these 9 types? And, I will admit that when Brene Brown had this guy on, I, of course, self-assessed as I heard him go through this. So, I mean, hey, you can certainly listen and see if you can peg yourself. But yes, of course, it does take more of an assessment. And
Yeah.
we might as well hear about them.
Yeah. And as you hear them, write them down, and then you can go Google them and go into a deeper
Sure.
dive if you want to.
Yeah,
So I'm going to start.
all of
Yeah,
Susan and
I'm
I
gonna-
can start talking about, like, what ours are, and you
Yeah.
can tell us, how that works
Yeah.
individually.
Okay. So I'm going to start. You would think I would start at 1, but I'm not. I'm going to start at 8. And the reason why is the 8 and the 9 and the 1. We have 3 levels. We have 3 kind of intellectual centers: our head, our hearts, and our gut, our body. So the 8, 9, and 1s are the body types. So they have their first line of access is instincts. They have a capacity to instinctively know. So the 8s are the challenger protector type. They're powerful and they're domineering. You're going to see them at the front of the line saying, let's go, we can do this. They really have a lot of energy. They love intensity and they love challenge. So that give you a little bit of a flavor of them. They also protect. They have a circle and they protect that circle. So that would be the energy of an 8. Okay. 9s are what we call the peacemakers or the mediators. They're the kind of the really soft, pleasant kind of type. They're easy to like. They're very likable. They don't disrupt much. They're harmony people. They create harmony. They're sitting in a group. They're going to kind of go with the flow. I call them their soft pillows. We know who they are. You're just with them and you just feel good. They're not going to really give you a hard time. They can be known, though, to be a little bit of a procrastinator. So if this was ringing at all to you, you might notice those things go hand in hand. Because, again, not wanting to disrupt the field. 1s, they're the perfectionists or the reformers. They're the kind of the rational ideal guys. They think they're head types, the ones, but they're actually body types.
So they're delusional.
They're confused at times. Go ahead.
We might now be landing in on, maybe this could be Kelly Fanson. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe. Just
Fun.
kidding,
Maybe, just
Fanson.
maybe.
Okay,
Just
so
kidding.
delusional. What else, Karen?
They like, okay, the ones, we need them in our lives because they help us make sure we're doing things right. They keep things kind of put together. They have this way of knowing what's the right next pieces. So they're very focused on that. They want it to be orderly. They love the processes. Like, they enjoy detail, thank goodness. And we need them in our lives. The ones will definitely say they are aware of, they have a strong inner critic. So if you don't have to make any criticism to them, don't worry, they're already doing that on themselves. And they're very, they want to make things right in the world, including themselves. So they have an internal chatter. The CEO is the critic. 2s are the helpers. They're the giver type. You know who they are. If you know who you are, you're the one that mails me the beautiful card. They're very much, when they do something, it's got heart and care in it. They actually enjoy people being dependent on them. They count on that. It gives them energy.
Right. You know what's really interesting about that is, like, if you don't know that personality type as being, someone who needs to be needed, then you might give that person advice saying, like, you're too needy, like, go, and then you're telling someone to go against their personality type, and that can really mess you up.
And especially when it's from an intention of care, you can imagine the hurt that could sound like, right?
Yeah.
Which is really what you're hitting on, is when we understand why, the why of the personality, we have a different way of attaching ourselves. They're very relationship oriented. So remember, these are heart centered. We're going into the heart centered now. 2s, 3s, and 4s. So they're into relationships. They really pay attention to that. Thank goodness, right? We need that. They can be, though, because they want that so much, be a little over on the people pleasing. So they sometimes are out doing things, but they'd really rather do that, but they want to make sure that they're people pleasing people, right? They want to be loved. They're the love people.
Don't we all want to be loved?
We all want to be loved, but man, oh man, this one's big for them. It's core in them.
Like, that one will, like, if they don't have it, they will, I mean, we all need love. So is it like that they are so, their actions are all about getting love, finding love, being like that, generating towards them more than others?
Yes, their core is I must give to get love.
Okay.
That's the shift. That's the difference. You just nailed
it. Karen, is it safe to say that really it gets down to almost like what I think of as like a core value? It's like other things are important in our lives. Other things will make us come alive or irritate us or whatever. But these are like kind of where we work and live from. It's kind of like it's like the main foundation for us.
You nailed it.
It's dominant.
And so I think it's also important to remember that, the word type is actually a short form for the word archetype. And so every archetype has that kind of that main feature, what's going to be prominent, but of course, many other layers involved.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
100%. But when a 2 knows that that's where it's coming from, imagine how they can use that in a way to serve their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of seeing it as a needy, they can actually make the shift to say, I know that's my core. How do I use that? Mm-hmm. So it's a really, it really helps align. And I love the archetype. It really is about aligning who I am to the way I want to serve.
Okay.
Cool. Each type, not just the 2. We just pointed out, we just caught that on the 2 one. The Enneagram 3 is the success performer achiever. So highly efficient. They have a lot of energy. I describe this, their competitiveness. So that you often will see them in the competitive arena. The Olympians are you'll see a lot of 3s there, not just 3s. There's other types, but the 3s are really attracted because they have a work ethic to be at the highest level. That's just the way, again, the Enneagram 3 is wired. I'm valuable, I'm efficient, I contribute from there. So that's the energy of a 3. They're also very focused on self-image and how they will be with other people. So they want to make sure they look good to people. That's really important to them. They want to make a good impression. And in fact, even physically, they take the time to make sure they're put together. They are unofficially always attractive. Like they just find a way to do that for themselves. They have a natural ability to do that.
As
But
Susan smooths her hair.
exactly.
You know what type Susan is?
Listen, I wasn't going to say anything, but now we're on the topic. No. Yes, go on, Karen.
Yeah,
go on.
Go on. Again, still
We're getting there.
Still heart-centered. So 3s will be paying attention to the feelings, right? They are testing out, am I doing okay here? Am I creating the feeling I want to create? And they will actually sense that from others. So they take cues. They're very aware of that. Type 3. Type 4 is the individualist. Again, we're still in the heart center. This is the sensitive, kind of withdrawn type. So, they're really in their own world. They have a good sense of inside of themselves and they like to be in there. So a lot of artists are 4s, very creative. They have an innate ability to just be intuitive about what art and creativity looks like. So they like to be different. They're actually happy and okay that they're fundamentally different than other people. So less needing, and notice the 3 and the 2 out there, they're more, I'm okay. Self-love is important to me. They take painful experiences and they like to turn them into opportunities. They're really comfortable to talk about that stuff, where I may be as a 7, I don't want to go there. They're romantics at heart. Like they truly see art and beauty in the world. They can be moody as a result of being withdrawn, though. So they can, if the outside world isn't meeting their needs, they can show a little bit of moodiness. So again, being sensitive to drawing that out as we get to know 4s. Now we're going to go into the head center. Am I going at an okay speed here, you two?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Keep it up.
Awesome. So this is the thinking center, the head. And the Enneagram 5 is called the investigator or the observer. So a lot of scientists, right? These are cerebral people. They go deep into thinking. They like being in their world of knowledge. So a lot of experts that are in that deep kind of development, they enjoy doing that kind of research and really going deep into some type of a topic. They can be very private and introspective. So when they speak, they've thought through. They're not going at talking too loud or they're really paying attention. They see patterns. So you can imagine, I'm thinking right now in this world of COVID, there's a lot of 5s in there, kind of watching everything that's going on. They don't like to be attached. They're quite comfortable being minimalists because their attachment is to knowledge and wisdom and information. They don't need a lot of stuff around them. And even relationships, they don't need a whole lot of people to be feeling like they're contributing. So really head types. They're very loyal. When you're with them, you can count on them. They're going to make sure you get the information. Type 6 is what we call the loyalist. They've also been called the loyal skeptic. And the reason why is they're really attuned to what we call the security world. They're looking out and making sure things are in place, and security and safety is really, really important with them. So they value structure. They're going to be looking for systems and putting things in place so things are orderly and safe. So different than the 1 where it's about making sure it's done at a high level of perfection. This is structure and safety. They like predictability. So working with them, you want to make sure that you're really clear, because then they can excel. Once they have all that, they're loyal, they get things done, you can count on them, they're quite engaged. They need that to flourish. And so really making sure you have that in place when you're working with them or hanging out with them, then they can really join in. They know who to trust. They have this sense. It's funny that I call it the 6th sense. There are 6 to just know who to trust, and they will align themselves to trustworthy people. They can be rebellious if they don't think things are going to go well, but they can be super courageous once they know things are going to go. They'll jump in. The Enneagram 7, again, another head type. That's my type. We're the excitable, variety-seeking type. So they can be called the enthusiast, the epicure. So we have a lot of energy. 7s have energy. If you meet a 7 and they're kind of up there, life of the party, let's do this. Oh, we could go over there too. So they see a whole bunch of different possibilities. They live in the future. So the work of a 7, they're the ones that are going to organize stuff and be spontaneous. That really is important to them. So their freedom to choose different things is important. They like to entertain people. So they can be they think they're funny. I laugh at my own jokes, right? I think I'm very funny. But I don't like to be bored. So the 3 being the hardworking, get her done. Mine is my busyness. The 7's busyness is because we don't want to be slowing down. We love to multitask. We're jack of all trades because we're able to be so quick. We can pick up things very easily. That's the 9 types in a very fast nutshell.
I feel like
Well,
I feel like
thank you.
all of them.
Yeah.
I feel like I can relate to every single thing that you've said. Like skeptic, structure, minimalist, investigator, spontaneous, I literally feel like, yep, I feel like I'm all that. So how do you possibly go, like when I took the test, for example, and we can start talking about Susan's and my experience. When I took it, I was 98% one thing and then a 3-way tie with other things. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, you are complex, Fanson. So
and like, sense. Also, can I change my number? It sounds really nice to be number 9. A peacemaker, a mediator, sounds so likable. Can I just change my number?
We have all 9 types. Everything's available is what I would say to you. And that's when you start to, I love what you just said, you nailed it, because what we start to see is the flavor of what's available. And so, yes, you can evolve and pull in. And some of that stuff you already have. This is not a rigid way of looking at yourself. However, this is what you can do this test. I've done this test when I was 30, 40, and now I'm 60, and I do it every single time, and my type stays the same. But I know I'm not the same person that I was at 30 or 40 or 60. I know I have other components, but my core, my archetype, it's a dominant, there's the word, it's my primary space. And then I've brought in some of the other competencies and abilities of those other types.
And when you say brought in, you mean you're making choices. You're actually going, you know what? I really like that about a 2. So I'm going to bring that, to the fore in my personality.
Yeah, totally. And as you 2 know, once you know your type, you actually have access right away to 4 other types because you have your stress type, your integration type, and your wings. So even before you get off the mark, you're already accessing 5 without even thinking about it. So what the Enneagram does is it shows you the map. That's really what I see the Enneagram is. Here's the map, and you start to see the map, and then you can pull it in and say, I want more of that. How do I grow that? So in my coaching work, once that person says, I know I need that if I'm going to be successful in what we're talking about, what the topic is that I want to be coached on. If I don't have that, I know it will prevent me from being successful. So that way you can narrow in and focus in on your own development.
As an acting coach and teacher and actor, actually, I think this would be a great tool for developing character.
Many of the Enneagram, I studied the Enneagram. I did go back into this education system. I went down to the States, and there's an Enneagram Institute, is the institute in the States. And one of the instructors goes to Hollywood and gets actors ready for their characters.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start a little side coaching. That's
works really well.
Role.
Right. Especially if they're doing like live, like, John F. Kennedy or Marilyn Monroe.
Sure.
They would type
Real people.
that person live, and then they would help them embody that person's Enneagram.
Yeah, cool.
Cool, eh?
That's a very cool application. Karen, is there like a type that has actually been found to be like the most common? And is there a type that's actually the least common? Or is it across the board evenly?
It's across the board. I don't know the percentages, but here's what I will tell you that's so cool. I don't know if this is going to be helpful at all, but they've actually studied triplets and twins, thinking, okay, you're in the same family, because obviously we're more than our type. We have culture, family upbringing. They've actually followed triplets and identical triplets and identical twins, and they grow up and they're different Enneagram types. So there's something about I don't know the information about types. So but what I've learned is there's no kind of percentage of more or less.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering
However, I think there's certain types that go into certain areas of fields. And so some of you know that I've been doing some work in the curling world, and I'm starting to see some patterns of types coming into that high level competitive. Not that it's right or wrong, because I haven't been doing it that long, but I would say that certain personalities would be attracted to that kind of intensity, to that kind of competitive arena.
Yeah, because curling's the most intense sport there is.
Absolutely, Fanson. I couldn't agree with you more when you make that point.
Like, forget football.
You're too funny.
Forget basketball. But curling, I can see the level that we need for that sport.
Well, we can discuss the athleticism and the strategy required.
Golf. What do we need for golf?
Well, I think you need a lot of beer. I think that's the most important thing. Oh, please. So Karen, we'll go back into the process then. I reached out to you with this idea. Fanson was so open to it, which I appreciated. And so
I kind of said I was open to doing it, but I did sort of feel like, oh God, what, I gotta like put myself in a box again just to make everybody happy. Well, who are you exactly? Who are you? Don't stray from what we know.
Okay, Fanson, I have to say my favorite, when I sent you the link for the assessment, you wrote back to me and said, what if I don't like my results? I just love that. That was my favorite response ever. I was like, oh boy. How's this gonna go? So anyway, I first sent Fanson just one online, actually. I was a bit confused, and I thought I was just supposed to grab one online and for us to do it. So we did that one. And what's interesting is I did get a different result with that assessment than the one that you actually provided for us. So I actually scored to be a 7 on that online tool. And then with my assessment with you, it appears that I'm a very good looking 3.
I did it 3 different times when you sent me that online one. I did it 3 different times. I did it in the morning. I did it one afternoon when I was in a shit mood. I wanted to come at it. And I did it one night after I had a few drinks. And I got different results every time. I shit you not. And then I was like, what am I going to do? And so then the time that I took it, I did one more, and then I did another one that Karen sent, like the quiz. And honestly, I still was like, there was the one that I got where it was a 98% one, and then like a 3-way tie for like 7, 4, and something. I don't even remember. I was like, I'm so confused.
And that's so important, because I talk about this. I think I talked about it with you too, that a lot of people will take the Enneagram if they've had an experience and take it to a girls' weekend and start to do the Enneagram for fun. And it can be a dangerous thing to do if you don't have enough knowledge. Yeah. And people often mistype themselves. Mm-hmm. So when you work with someone who, like myself, who's done some deeper learning and development around the Enneagram, it's the conversation and really letting that other person suss out. And I know with you, Kelly, I don't know what number I am. And then, but as you know, we worked through each of the numbers and I kind of pulled the narrative for you, your fingers started to go up on the one, like, yeah, check, yeah, check. So you started to feel that felt like more like what your primary is. So your question was, can it change? It absolutely can. I've seen tons of people in the Enneagram in my coaching profession start out as a one number and end up finding out they're not that type. So it is a process of just learning about yourself. The more you get to know yourself, then you start to find yourself. However, I don't know what happened to me. I was like, I've never changed from a 7. So I figure I'm a hardcore 7 because it's never been any other number, no matter what test I use on the internet.
Okay, so Fanson, you're a 1.
Yes,
You
apparently.
you're that's what
Apparently.
you scored as. That, yeah, exactly. Allegedly, as they say in the news.
Allegedly.
Allegedly a 1, and I am a 3. And so then we went online with Karen individually, and we did a one-on-one with you, Karen, to learn more about, how the 1 ticks, how the 3 ticks. So maybe you could just now embellish on the 1 and the 3, as maybe our listeners have come to love Kelly Fanson and Susan Stewart. And maybe we can talk now about, like, how does a 1 and 3, how do they,
Because one of the things that I guess it's, first of all, Karen, you help people understand their own personality type and work with them over, I guess, a certain period of time on that.
Yeah, I can do it. People, whatever they feel they want, if they want more.
Yeah. And then another thing you do is obviously you work with couples or partnerships
Teams.
like ours, or teams, which is fascinating. So you're really just, moving all of those pieces around to help them understand and work with each other to their optimum, I suppose.
Yeah, and to relate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in relationship really all the time. So if we can understand that person's view out and how they interpret things, because that's what we're doing. The one-on-one is for someone to kind of expand their awareness of, oh, that makes sense. That's why I gravitate that way. That's why I'm over here. That's why I feel, hurt when that happens. So when they can start to understand how their internal state relates to the external world, and then vice versa, you two, for example, can understand each other, then it just brings your level of being able to work together and really accelerate and use your talents individually and interrelationally even better. So that was the goal for the two of you, is how can we really even up our game and how we do our work together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what does Fanson bring, and what do I bring as allegedly speaking, as a 1 and a 3?
So do you want me to start with the 1, Kelly? Do you want me to start with you? Allegedly, or do you want me to start with?
If we're doing it individually rather than like just how the two of us work together.
Okay. Well, I'll just talk about the 1 and the 3. How about I do that? And then you two ping off of that.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
So Kelly, maybe a 1. It kind of relates to that. Is decided, okay, Karen, you're making me do this test and I have to pick a number. So it'll be 1.
It depends if she's sober or not, I guess.
Exactly. So the energy of the 1 is just to, when they're working together with another person, they really want to make sure there's some real clarity. They want to make sure they get things nailed down, get it right. They really want to understand the process. So they're very good at helping kind of set that all up. Let me be clear. I need to understand, because they want to show up and be able to give what they need to give and do it in an exceptionally good way, in the right way they want to do it. So clarity for them is really important. They like the rules. Like, how are we going to work together? Like, I don't need to follow the rules, but just let's know what they are so it's clear. They want the best outcome. So they'll redo and redo and redo and redo to make sure it looks really, really good. Is that relating to you at all, Kelly?
Yeah, I think things should look good.
Integrity is at the core, and really at the bottom line is that the basic thing they want to make sure is that they're not going to cause any harm. They don't want to be seen as a bad spirit out there. They want to make sure that they're contributing and adding value and making sure things are done the best way they can. So they really want to do it accurately. So high integrity, they want to make sure things are done well. and they want to be really responsible and make sure they do what's right. Threes, so that's presumably how Kelly wants to contribute. Boring.
What?
So
Fancy.
boring.
That's
So
not boring. Okay, okay, Karen. Maybe let's spice it up a little bit. Let's spice it up. Like what maybe
let's
stresses the No, I think it'd be a good idea to maybe just dig a little bit and go, okay, what?
But we want to hear about you too. So we've got 1 and 3, and then we can figure out if,
okay. So we'll just hit we'll do a teaser.
Okay.
We'll do a teaser. When sevens are really comfortable and rocking, they actually bring the 7 in, the 7 energy, which is the fun, enjoyable, kick it ass, let's have a good time. So once they have all of that, they can bring that energy.
Wait a minute, you mean ones bring the 7?
You bet. That's your integration part. So but if that isn't in place, if the 1 doesn't have that structure and order and clarity, the 7 can't come play. See?
Got it.
That's important in the core, and then the 7 shows up, and this playfulness is able to play. The party girl comes and plays with me. It's a really
party
good
girl.
Relationship.
There's the fun.
Well, the thing is when I first heard about the types and I heard the 7, that's what I pegged Fanson as. What's called the enthusiast or the.
That's what everybody sees, Susan.
Oh,
but they don't know.
Well,
the darkness of the critic of the 1.
I've had some insight over the last year, but no, like I really did see that as a big energy for Fanson. Like, as you say, operating from an energetic place. I was like, oh yeah, no, she's like kind of the go-getter, and of course, party girl, kind of you like a good time. And so, yeah, but that's interesting how you can perceive someone and it's not perhaps their primary energy. Anyway.
Well, I think Kelly just nailed it. All the stuff I'm describing, the 1 often doesn't show it.
I see. Yeah.
Right. So it's invisible to us, but man, oh man, it's all in there. Their self-control of holding all that rigor in it's buried. So yeah, cool. So the type 3, which is
ones.
Type 3, which is where you land as well, Susan, is the kind of the performer, the success-oriented, the achiever. So this is someone that goals, kind of planning, really needing to have a pathway. Like you make the path. 3s make pathways. They have a succession. They have a plan. They're driven. They're driven to succeed. That's the way they're wired. They want to. So when they're engaging and planning and getting ready and trying to. So that's why they're in the competitive world, because it really serves them, because they can really masterfully move through that and work really, really hard. So give them a goal, they're going to make it to the end. So really important, like in organizations, you'll see a lot of 3s leading big projects because
exciting.
It's so exciting. I know. They put a great deal of energy in.
I don't think that's very exciting.
It's so exciting. Why do I have to be a fucking 1? I just sit around nitpicking everything. Susan's like raising the what is it? She's on the podium.
I'm making the path.
Oh my God.
By the way, 1s will definitely be on the podium with the 3s.
Doing what? Cleaning it?
Because they will put so
much. Hiding it?
But they
making sure everything's in its place?
Yeah. So think of the rigor. Think of the rigor that a Olympic athlete would have to have. The precision of some things. So 1s are on the podium is what I will say to you. Mm-hmm. The energy of how they get there is just different, but they are very successful. So it does sound a little boring, but they get there, and we need rigor in our work, in our wherever we. So sorry,
I'm just bringing out personality, guys. I'm just bringing out the personality.
I love it.
It's all about it today.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking you're like the least boring one. Like if you had to set up all the 1s, you're a very exciting one, Fanson. I gotta say,
up here,
never a dull moment.
Pretty dull.
And that comes from perhaps your work. So this is where it gets the different ways are, it's not exacto. So there's this other piece that Kelly brings into her, has brought in through her, the work she did, the getting into the performing world. So like you've already, so now yours is slightly different than perhaps my husband, who's been more in the business kind of square box going up the, he's still a lot of fun, but very different because his energy's been more used for something else.
Your husband's a 1.
He's a 1.
Yeah,
But very,
so
again, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go back to Susan.
I am.
Okay.
So image is important. So we talked a little bit about that. And Susan and I had a bit of fun about that. Like, putting ourselves together. There's intention behind a 3. Like they're not just going out the door with messy hair and a track pant and sweatshirt on. They may have the track pants and the sweatshirt on, but it's all put together. So I may walk out the door, we'll meet in the hall, and there's going to be 2 different outcomes with the same image. You know what I'm saying there? Like fancy, Susan's going to look way different than me. And the attention to image is very important. And they want to create an impression. So they have a way they want to show up in relationship. So when they're done, you're going to have an experience with them, and it's going to be it's going to flow really nicely. They just have created that image. And so when you're with them, you feel it.
Are 3s extroverts always?
Not always.
Okay. What does an introverted 3 look like?
An introverted 3 would be more, what I would say, extroverts, introverts, each type can be either or. That's a whole other energy. However, an introvert, I would say, would be someone who would be not perhaps as much in the center of attention, but making some accomplishments, like not in the limelight, contributing very, very big pieces and being recognized for their success a different way. But they would know when to be extroverted. 3s would never they know when to show their star. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even if I'm introverted, a 3 would know when the star should come out so that people can see me. But it might not be like Oprah Winfrey's a 3 on the stage, but she would say she's an introvert. If you asked her, she would. She said that.
Fanton, that's your favorite. Hey, me and Oprah. That's your favorite. You're working with Oprah.
She would say she's an introvert,
Okay.
right? So
well,
it's
we can
introverts.
all say whatever we want.
Right. Introvert means I can go out and deliver, but I need recovery time.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert. I go out and deliver. I want to go for a walk. So I get my energy from movement, where introverts need to withdraw and recover and to get their energy back.
So what if I get my energy from movement, being that I'm a 1 and I'm in my body, even though I think I'm in my head, but I also need to recharge. I need to do that. I can't just keep putting it out there. I need to do that. So is this just like a big bag of everything? Like,
is your question if
I didn't have a question.
I didn't
so what was it about, Susan? What else?
I think you summarized it.
Was that everything?
You think? I think so. Okay, so for time's sake, we'll share then that we did a team session with you.
And how do we work together?
And how does a 3 and a 1 perform well together, work well together? How can we support each other? So what
works?
What's your
what
best?
Doesn't work?
Yeah. Give it.
Who do you like better?
Are you asking me this question? I'm really curious what you guys felt at the end of it. What did you think from what you know about yourselves and your energies of what you bring to the table? What's some things that you kind of took away that would really kind of support your energy together?
I would say that I don't know if Susan's got 7 in her. You were saying that a 1 really needs, some of that, like knowing where they stand to really bring the 7. So I would say one area that I would need confirmation from you on, as let's say the expert or whatever in this regard, that we meet on a 7 level, like very well. So I don't know where our 7s come in, but when we're both having fun, we gel extremely well. And I think that my perfectionist stuff, and Susan's like general pathway. I think they complement each other well. She'll be like, I think we should do this. And I'm like, here's all the ways that we could do that.
Yeah, that's a fair summary of kind of like what the strengths that we bring to the table. Fanson, you're amazing in the attention to detail that you bring to, say, the script that you're writing. I mean, it requires a lot of research, and I'm thinking, oh my god, that's just like it blows my mind. And whereas I think I maybe just kind of, it's weird. It is a little bit like a path. Like I'm always kind of driving stuff a little bit more, and then Fanson has always the amazing ideas too. So I don't know. How can I best support a one? How can the one best support a three?
It's interesting
Um,
also because for me, like you were talking about, when things are stressful for me, I go to a
mhm.
four. So the four being, what I like about the four is like all that, artistic stuff and individualist stuff that really resonates with me. But because that's not my dominant one, I think what you were describing was I go to a four under stress, which makes me withdraw and sort of keep it all really close to the chest, which I do. And I notice that, in my relationships. So with Susan as a three, I see how that affects her. And also my partner's a three. So I've been really enjoying like figuring all of that out. It's really fun. It's fun to play.
Yeah, because what happens under stress, you go to the four, but you go to the unhealthy part of the four
Yeah.
because we're in stress.
Hmm.
So really, what it is, it's too much out here. So I'm gonna contract. Both
Yeah.
types will find a contracting place to go,
Hmm.
and it's not the pretty part of four. So you're saying, yeah, I like the creative side, but then I don't like that other part, and I'm starting to notice. So it's a sign. It's your cue saying, I'm under stress. What's that? How can I find my way to speak into that versus withdrawing? But go there because that's where you're going to find out what's going on. But coming out, you move into the healthy one again, and you start to say, I need to let people know what I need.
Can that
Mm.
four part be healthy? Where, I do know, like I just explained to you before I even was talking about the four part that you mentioned, that, as a, we were talking about extrovert versus introvert. And I was like, I do need to like pull back, chill out, assess things, process, and refine whatever. Like that is part of, I guess, the one. So when the stress part of the four happens to me and I withdraw because I'm like keeping things close to the chest, because I'm really like, that's sort of where I go to like not trust. I'm like, I don't really know where this is headed. I don't know if I'm safe. Can that ever be a positive place?
Yes. Now you know that. So now you can do your work, go and look at the four and say, where is it that they're at their best? And how do I build the capacity when I go there to travel up? See, this is what's so cool about
So I should like go withdraw and paint a picture.
maybe
Maybe that's
it,
what I should do.
it might be, but that's not what they do. So let's not just be there. This is where they're actually sitting back and assessing what's going on. Because what happens with the one energy is it becomes too much. It's feeling a lack of order and structure. So that's the reason why it's withdrawing, because it doesn't, you actually described it really well, Kelly. It doesn't feel safe. So I have to go back in here. So then it gives you a chance to do some reflection and look out and say, where do I need to go here? And grab your seven energy. Okay, so I'm taking this really seriously. How serious is it? So you can really start to draw on the other energy to reset, because that's what you're doing. How do I do a healthy reset? Because it's not a bad thing that you've gone into stress. We've actually given stress a bad rap.
Yeah.
We need it. We need to know we're in it because it's not where we want to stay. And if we stay in stress too long in as human beings, but even in our type, we'll actually move from healthy to unhealthy. That's just because it goes from stress to distress. So this is a wonderful way for people with the Enneagram to say, how can I use the energy of that in a way that will get me back the game.
I wonder if that's why I have such a dark sense of humor, because the one, when they retreat into that place where I'm not safe, that feels very dark, when I add humor to bring myself out, it's usually like very dark, you know?
That's
Like,
pretty
this should
interesting.
not be said on television kind of stuff, you know?
And Karen, like as Kelly's podcast host, co-host, partner, what can I do to help Fanson when maybe stress sets in? Is it maybe try to just make her laugh, like try to bring in the humor? Is that the best way I can help or support?
I would
Or
let Kelly answer that, but I can talk about the Enneagram 1 and then Kelly can say what works for her. But
yeah,
typically what they're looking for then is making sure you're on the same page. So it's a
okay,
reconnect to say, what do you need to be able to, like, I want to make sure we're on the same page. It's really, really important to ones that they're resetting and they're able to contribute. Remember, they want the order.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
communication. We've talked
So
about that before. Like, to me, the
yep,
communication
yeah,
is where the comprehension comes and where all things are possible, right? Because you can, you know where you stand when it's clear, honest communication. That's my best way through. So what about Susan? So where does she
yeah.
go?
Yeah, I just want to give you one other thing that you might want to think about because
Yeah.
the ones have a strong inner critic, the worst thing we can do to ones is tell them what they did wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to build the foundation of I
Because
know
we're
what
like,
you're
I
doing
know
here.
already.
Yeah.
Don't
So
bring me down, man.
yeah. And so just like giving them that, and I've seen you do that really, like you two are really good. Like seriously, you're doing so much good. And so just grounding them again and just saying, okay, we have to reset. Like this didn't go the way we wanted to. Let's talk about what we want. So that's a really good way. So that's for the one. So the Enneagram 3, again, their retreat is to the peacemaker. So they lose their drive, they lose this competitive kind of edge that we need from them. And all of a sudden they're a little bit like where they go? They get quieter and they're not quite, there's this energy that starts to dissipate a bit from the Enneagram 3. And again, that's your sign, that, okay, things are just out there. It's not, I'm feeling that I'm not going to be seen in good stead. Does that make sense to you, Susan? Like when it doesn't look good out there, you're going to retract for a minute and take a look. And I think we talked about this a little bit with when you were talking about your team that you curl with, is that you're kind of assessing and then you come back out and say, okay, what are we going to do to make this better? So for you, Kelly, to help Susan, is notice when that's happening and just create some space to have her re-engage. You're quiet. I want to know what you're thinking. Like, I want to make sure we're okay. Remember, for them, relationship and the hard energy is needed. So we need to make sure we're back and we're okay. So making sure that's stable and then saying, what do we need to do to be back in and feeling like we're going to really nail this.
And what if that doesn't work? Like
then we start drinking, Fanson.
Oh,
That's it. We just go to we go to that place,
okay,
that always brings us together.
You go to
No,
that place.
Yeah, is there a backup plan? I don't know.
Just a plan B. Yeah.
Yeah, plan B.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there's a big word I'll use. Take some time away. Because
So how do you know? How do you know when to take time away? Like, how do you know if it's not, so for example, if someone needs to be away, how does the person who's there to engage know to be away without the communication of be away, except for the fact that, you're hyper aware and you're like, I read it, whatever. Like, let's assume you can't. How do you know you're like poking the bear?
You're going to feel it. They're going to be resisting. Your biggest clue is resistance. And resistance, again, has got a bad rap. It's called pause. People need time. And here's why. We're not human doings. We're human beings. We need to go away and sleep on stuff. Do you ever notice that if there's been something and the buzz has happened and it hasn't gone well, you process and the next day you start, okay, I know now what I need to do. So
yeah, I think it's very interesting in partnerships. Like we've both talked about the need to withdraw, or that our stress places withdraw. So what happens when one of us withdraws and the other one's like, we're right in the middle of something, or both of us withdraw? Who the fuck pokes the bear first? Like, or who, like, and we both go, no, more time, more time, more time. And then two people don't talk to each other anymore. Like, this could happen in marriages. This can happen in business. And it's interesting. I know we can't talk about this stuff all day, but the awareness that you've given us is that in stress situations, Susan and I will both withdraw. So for our listeners, if you don't hear from us for a while, shit's gone down.
Wow,
some stuff we're dealing with.
It's been a couple months now. I wonder who's gonna call who.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I think when you also are trying to put out shows, and if you do need a bit of space, then I don't know. Then you do bring wine. But yeah. But
is there a number 10? Is there the personality type wine? Just wine.
I think there is. I think
That's
it's a strategy
10.
for all of us. But I think in the world where I think that's part of our work in any type is just building that knowing and just being more acutely aware that the pressure point is too much here. Like, I don't feel the energy is not working in the right direction for us, and to be saying this is a good decision to do a timeout and we're going to reconnect. And I do a lot of work with,
right? Like, I think a lot of times with relationships, friendships, partnerships, even maybe more specifically friendships, sometimes we feel like, I just want to take a break from that person. I just want to, it's not serving me, or the energy isn't whatever. And we tend to sabotage or create a situation why we should dislike that person. So we give ourselves an out. It never really occurs that two people will sit down and be like, you know what? Energy shift. Let's pick this up in a year. Like, it just doesn't happen. We have breakups. We sabotage. I think subconsciously we sabotage stuff for that very reason. Like, it's like almost like there's a knowing. I know I need this, or I know I'm going to do this, and provided it's healthy and not to be cruel or whatever, it's a very difficult part of the human experience. This relationship need to sort of ebb and flow.
Yeah, we're very black and white, right? We're either on or we're off.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I always believe in expiry dates. I think sometimes it's just like, okay, it really was just supposed to be for this time. And then our humanity gets involved. And then it feels like a failure, or I'm a bad person, they're a bad person, and then it gets messy, anyway, when really maybe those energies were supposed to only come together for a while. I don't know.
I just don't agree. I just don't believe in supposed to. I don't believe in expiry dates, but I do think things ebb and flow. So yeah, we differ slightly on the whether basically you're saying there is a date, there's a hard out for you and me, Susan. We just don't know when it is yet. That's what I hear is like, I believe in expiry dates. And the first thing I think is, oh, so you believe that there's a time that ours will be over. And then because I don't believe in that, I'm like, why aren't we friends anymore? Because for me,
but also
it's like meh.
And the thing is the expiry date could be 2050. Like I think there's really like
I'll
some
be
partnership.
Dead.
Well, yes, of course, and that's why
I've used up so much energy. There's no way I'm making it.
Yeah,
no,
I know. I don't need to go.
I got a heart.
I don't need to go that. Yeah, I don't need to go that long. So that's that's what gives me comfort each day.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But no, I think there is. I think there's lots of energies that come together for a very, very long time. But I don't know. But that's a little bit how I am. Like I'm a little bit of that. I don't know, spiritual.
I think there's a lot of 3 in 1 going on there, right? So just know that the way we hear it and the way we interpret that, it's all about that. For me, I think I shared this with you before. I'm someone who often stays too long, and that's part of my Enneagram 7. I don't want to let go of all the people. So I'm being more self-aware that sometimes it's a good thing to finish. It's not a bad.
You're ditch them, aren't you? You're letting them go. You're like, check that one. Like,
Well,
right?
and I shared a story about, working in a partnership with somebody for a very long time. And one day I could tell it was not serving us very well. It was really limiting his ability. He was feeling like I was here and he was dead. Like there was
Mhm.
inequity. And I said, we need to break up
Yeah.
because I'm getting in your way. You need to go do you. And then if it works out down the road and we find our path back together, but I could really sense this was not supporting him.
Yeah,
And
and if you were feeling amazing, you wouldn't be like necessarily you got to go your way. You would continue to see, because you as human beings, we want to keep that great feeling going. So if you were feeling amazing and he was struggling, that would be a different outcome possibly. But you weren't having any fun either because once that I think starts to happen, the writing's on the wall maybe.
and we broke up in a good way. So I guess it's the how
Mm,
part, learning to,
yeah.
so there are ending and beginnings. There's ebbs and flows, different styles. Like again, I can only I'm relating because for like Glenn, the loyalty, right? There's a loyalty program for some types. So this would be really, really hurtful for them. So how we do that, that's the awareness of what works for people. And boy, like I always say, why not have that conversation first so that when it gets to that point, you have a plan.
Well, it's funny because I know we have to go, but I was going to ask you, should people use this as a dating tool? Like,
Mm.
seriously,
Yeah,
like, fill out this form and then we'll talk.
like, are there some numbers that really shouldn't mingle?
You
Like a
can
1 and a 3?
You can, I have not used it for that purpose. I'm going to tell you that now. I'm a 37-year veteran of a marriage, so I have no experience on that.
Okay. Okay.
However, I think if I was a single person in my 20s and had this awareness, I might have been a little bit more aware of the kind of energy that I want to be with.
Right.
So you can go on the Enneagram Institute website
Would
and
you
they
have
do.
chosen your husband?
um, that's a really tough question.
Uh-huh.
The husband I have now, yes. But it was a challenge. I married my opposite. I married
Okay,
my
so with the numbers, you can do that. To Susan's question, you could have like a bad number combination.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah.
remember, because we're just way more than our type, I would hate you to limit it. Like, don't go on a first or second date with them because it's not who we are. It's a part of our structure. So depending the amount of work that person's doing on themselves,
And what you're prepared to do.
like you could have, I'm just making these numbers up. Like say a 3 and a 7 are on the Enneagram says, oh, they're a great combination. But if you have a healthy 3 and a healthy 7, that isn't going to go so well.
Right.
So it's more than just your number. That's how I want to finish this, because that's the problem when we minimize this. When we make it constricting, I think it's a dangerous tool to use.
Agreed.
So I relate to more. I'm learning more, but I'm learning to relate to more and more and more. But it's really that person and the dynamism of them that I'm attracted to now. I'm more aware of what I like and where I thrive and the kind of energy. I'm going to use the word energy and thinking that really gives me lots. But I wouldn't have known that at 20 or 30. If I didn't know I had to learn about myself.
Yeah. Through many different means, whether
Yes.
it's self-help books, little Enneagram test.
Yeah.
But see,
And just living.
This is all about, self-improvement. I think to know oneself.
Self-actualization. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think it takes a lot of the personal stuff when it comes to conflict or those tougher points in relationships, right? If we understand that that's kind of how they're running their energy, then we don't take someone's actions, behaviors, words too personally. It's like that's really them just expressing themselves, demonstrating their energy, and it's not really about us. Would you say that that's a key point in the Enneagram? Let's not take things too personally, because that's really just a person demonstrating themselves.
Totally.
Is that a good way to, yeah?
How you respond will have a direct impact on how they will be able to, if they're in stress type, how they'll be able to recover. So Glenn's on the way home, a little story last night. very stressful time at work. They're buying out a business partner, and I'm asking questions because there's a lot of dollars and cents I have to figure out. And I could hear his voice going up, and he was getting it because I'm trying to, and he was going. I said, Glenn, I know. He goes, I'm angry, and I could easily have gotten hurt in my younger years. I would have shut down. My little voice in my head would call them a bunch of names and saying, here we go again. And my behavior was different than it is now. And what I did is I gave him time, and then I explained where I was coming from once it got quiet. And within 10 minutes, his hand's over on my hand, and he says, I'm sorry. I know why you needed that information. I didn't mean to yell. I'm just really, really upset. That would have not, and he knows his type. So he's self-correcting now too. So when you're able to recover more quickly, then I think relationships will flourish in different ways. But it's allowing us to be in our kind of what I call bad way long enough, and allowing that person to come out and recover. That's the work the Enneagram does. It helps you know, what does that look like? How do you get back in to really in that kind of best way you want to show up?
And I think that's key. I think it's when, if you know where your bad place is, that you don't say, hey, this is just where I go, man, and I just got to do my thing. It's that to know that you're there, and then go, okay, what steps do I need to take? What can I ask for? How do I learn to manage this? So either it changes, or at least I have something, positive that can come out of it quicker.
It's like a race. It's the blocks at the gate. You're pushing off. It allows you to get going again. And so you're not stuck. You described it to a T, Kelly. You really awesome.
Look finish. At that, Shanson.
Woo! Did we change her? Do you think we moved her over?
Oh, I think you.
I'm a hard sell.
You kind of dig the Enneagram. I sense that a little bit.
Yeah, I like all of it.
Well, anyway, you made a good point.
I think Karen knows this stuff like backwards and forwards. I love it.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of value for people in getting to know their personality type, and also working with someone who can really help them hear themselves and understand where they're coming from. So lots of value in that. I loved my time working with Karen. I loved working with you. You're very intuitive and experienced. So thanks.
Thank you, Kelly.
And now we know how to respond to one another better, Fanson. Do we? I'm gonna help you, like, when you want more clarity. I gotta understand that that's very important to you. And what
integrity.
Integrity
and fun.
Tails and fun. But yeah, so just to summarize, Fanson is a head.
No, I'm body, but I think I'm head.
Oh, your body, but
I'm body. I'm head. Intuitive, but I think I'm head. And it's clarity, integrity, and fun.
And I'm a heart-centered, and relationships are very important to me. Yeah, I feel a lot. So anyway, but we'll both give each other space if we.
Yeah, I'll just be over here. Just give me a call.
Yeah. We'll just,
When exactly are you calling? When will that be?
And I just want to say, anyway, you two were awesome, and it was fun to work with you, and you dug in and you played and you challenged, and that's what this work is all about. That's the energy you bring into this kind of self-growth, self-development. I tell people it's for courageous people. Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Karen, for the work you did with us. And coming on the show today. It's amazing. Now, if a listener is interested in working with you,
let's go.
Like if maybe there's a couple who's sitting there right now in the car going, oh my God, we need Karen Bonner to save
Tell them how to get to you. Let's keep them together, Karen.
Yeah, so I'm the most non-visible business person in the world. I'm serious. I'm semi-retired, so you need to reach me. I'm on LinkedIn, and my email's kibonner@hotmail.com. I love working with people. I give an hour free, because guess what? If you don't think I'm worth it, I don't want any money. So you decide if I'm the right fit for you.
That's
what I did with
generous in today's day and age.
I know. But you know what? I want to work with people where it makes sense and that what I'm going to offer, I did enough work in my career that was irrelevant. Work for the government. No, just kidding. But I want to make sure it's practical and that it adds value at this time in my life.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So we'll put your email address in our show notes.
Okay.
Yeah, where we put all the in the description. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
It's been amazing.
Thanks for zooming with us.
Yeah. Who's zooming who? Anyway,
Stay safe out there.
Have a great day, 7.
Yeah, you 2-1.
Yeah. 7 out. All right,
Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye, Karen.
Bye.
Yeah. And I hope everybody out there listening enjoyed learning about the Enneagram.
Yeah.
I find it just fascinating.
And if nothing else, I believe that there was a lot of information today. And if you want to discover more, you either contact Karen on LinkedIn or also just check it out, Google Enneagram, and it'll come up.
Yeah, there's so many great online tools. Yeah.
I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah. I liked the one that we did initially because it gave you the chance to say, very accurate, sort of accurate, not accurate at all. It was more of a,
the one I'm looking at
kind of thing.
is inaccurate, neutral, and accurate.
Yes, there it is. Yeah.
Squares. And so you can go all the way over to accurate, or you can sort of be like in between. Yeah, it gives you some options.
Yeah. Just a little bit of self-awareness.
That's all.
And self-regulation. And
a little bit of self-regulation. What?
A little bit. But you know what? As we say, as we strive to self-regulate, we must love ourselves. We must accept ourselves.
Love and accept ourselves. Huzzah.
Yeah, that's it, right? This is what we have to be careful of. We need to really remember that every type is special and important, even if you're a 1.
Yeah, even then. Yeah. So get out
all right
there and take your personality with you.
So thanks for listening today. Fanson, it's been great to see you on my computer screen. This is only the second time we've actually been separated physically.
Yeah.
But
the
first time
was just the 2 of us, and this time we've now Zoomed with a guest.
Yeah. Well, I guess
we're doing all right there.
Yeah, I think this might be where we're headed for the next few months, but we don't want to go down that little rabbit hole, do we? No, we don't. But anyway, good to see you. Good to Zoom with you.
Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great day. You're Susan Stewart.
And you're Kelly Fanson.
And we're still a hot mess.
Still a hot mess.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Purple Jade Wellness Center, for your support. Thanks also to Monkey Junk, the Juno Award-winning blues band consisting of some of the best people and musicians we know. We'd also like to thank and give a 3-minute hug, because self-help says that's more meaningful, to the Podplant and Mike Wixon. And hey, why not subscribe or follow our show? And please, for the love of Oprah, give us a rating and review on your iPhone podcast app. And if you're into social media, you can find us on Instagram at Still a Hot Mess Podcast, and like us on Facebook at Still a Hot Mess. And thank you, Fanson.
And thank you, Susan.
You make a mess of me. You make a mess.